Welcome back to the Daily Dose of Dopamine. Again, my name is Robert. We're here with Susan. We're here with Brad, and we're here with Indu. And we're now going to open up a writer that has touched all of us, a doctor, Viktor Frankl, who wrote this book, and Indu has it in her hands, I believe. Man's Search for Meaning holds it that close to her heart. The brief overview: he's a psychologist who was in a Nazi war camp and lost his family, faced some of the most extreme conditions possible, and through it all was both observing and a participant, an active living participant in the human spirit and resilience, and seeing both the best and worst of things, and realizing that he could come through and still, Brad, as you mentioned earlier, be affected positively and do something with that experience. And as I mentioned, my doctoral research and the new program is called The Parkinson's Prison and the Hero's Journey to Escape, because that prison that we end up putting ourselves behind is often a psychological construct. There are literal ones, and certainly Victor's was. However, it seems that more commonly we place ourselves in psychological. I'm going to open with you, Indu, your relationship with Victor in that book.
Yeah, so I have a background in yoga and mindfulness, and I'm not even sure what exact pathway. I read a lot about a lot of things, and I came across this book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's a very short book, and I'm not a note taker, but I have a million notes. I don't know if people can see in this book. And I was just really inspired by his words, and so much of what he says speaks to me as a person living on this planet. The importance of feeling like you're the agent of your own sort of destiny is important. So the people that he observed that did the best were the ones that felt like they had a choice in what they could do and what their outcomes could be. It was really the people who said, well, I'm woe is me, and threw their hands up and felt like they were just passive and that it was in somebody else's control. Those were the ones that really didn't make it out, but the ones that really sort of felt like there was always hope, there was always something that they could do, and that there was small things that they could take pleasure in and make differences in, really sort of spoke to me. And so I think in any sort of state in the human condition, I think we all have times where there's hard times, darkness, and in those times, the choices that we're able to make and the people that are around us that we're able to connect with through those times, I think can make a huge difference for getting through those times. And then sometimes when we're on the other side, we can kind of help others in those times as well, and to pass on that message. So I think that, that's sort of been something that we've been sharing, with Brad and Greg and I, is sort of how can we help people living with Parkinson's to sort of find the things that they love, find the things that bring them joy and meaning, and to sort of help give them choices. Because when you feel like you have no control, you're sort of just, in the wind with this disease that really sometimes brings uncertainty, and you don't know what your future holds. I think, sort of staying in the present, making things matter today, finding people that you love, and honestly, one of the other things I think you were talking about improv is sort of, the times where time goes by and you forget, that an hour went by and that you're with the people that you love and you're doing something that you enjoy. It's this sort of flow state, right? This sort of sense of like time could stand still and you're just in the moment. And I think that those are the things that we want to help find for each of us. So it may not be improv for me, it might be live music. For Brad, it might be, something else. I don't know exactly, but, I think we each have things that speak to us, and helping us to kind of reconnect with those things is really what I think is important. And, we don't have a way to measure some of these things in trials, right? But the medicine sometimes is like, I just feel better when I'm doing this, or when I'm sort of sad and blue, what brings me joy and comfort is this. And so we have to kind of reconnect with those things. And I think as people living on this planet, and this is going to sound a little out there as a neurologist who's Western trained, but I think we all know in our hearts kind of what those things are. And so for some people, it might be, being in church and singing in a choir, or with, some faith traditions, doing a certain thing. My parents, really enjoy that. It might be different things, being in nature, in a beautiful day, feeling the sun on your face and the wind in your hair, those sorts of things where you sort of, or just sort of lose track of time and feel transported to when you were, 10 and just happy, out there in the world. I think, those are the sorts of things we want to help people to kind of reconnect with. And if we can find those things and give people choices to sort of help drizzle that in every day, I think, we've succeeded, I think, in some of our finding healthcare.
Susan's about to burst. Go ahead.
Just a miniature little conversation to your point, Indu, to say in the office, and what Bradley suggested before, how to find joy, just to mention, just as you did, several everyday common examples of what can touch us might tip over in someone's mind who's slightly paralyzed and slightly deaf at that moment because they've just been told they have Parkinson's, what joy can be, what it looks like, how to find it. Just a handful of little examples would take 10 seconds.
Brad, yeah, exactly. Because expediency is important. And I love this practical part of the conversation that can lead to clinicians giving, feeling like they're doing more without being pulled in so many directions. And the patient and or the person with Parkinson's or care partner feeling like they got something and we don't even know what that is. Brad, throwing this to you, starting with Viktor Frankl, and then several things I heard from Indu regarding play, connection, flow, and you mentioned joy. How do you wrap all this together?
I think that the key to me is it's very individualistic, right? And if you look at what the literature says about finding meaning, the three main things that you see across most studies that are published look at spirituality, work, and relationships. Those are the top three in everything that you see. And it makes sense, right? Now, for many, work may not be an issue anymore. It just depends. But relationships we know are. What types of relationships do I have in my life that are meaningful and that I'm sowing into as well as getting out from, right? Those are key. The other thing I think that, as I think of Frankl, there are so many things in his work, and we could spend an hour talking about Viktor Frankl. And one of the things that he says is that when you're no longer able to change a situation, you're challenged to change yourself. And I think that's what we find as we get to this place with the diagnosis of something like Parkinson's. It's getting to that place of acceptance, right? Because you have a choice. I'm either going to accept it or I'm not. You can fight it, but it's not really going to help you any, right? The sooner we get to acceptance and saying, all right, this is the hand I've been dealt. What am I going to do with it? And how can I still find those things that can bring me happiness, joy, peace, fun in life again? Because if we go back to a couple segments ago and we talk about the demoralization, it's not uncommon to think your life's over. I can't do anything I used to do anymore. Well, maybe, but maybe you find things that you never knew that you enjoyed. Improv, right? You never even knew what that was. You introduce some people to that, all of a sudden they're doing it, they're laughing, they're having fun. And for a period of time, they didn't think about their Parkinson's disease. Right? I mean, what a gift. What a gift.
That's actually what they say to us.
Yeah, well, what you say, I mean, Susan's my first follower, of course. She was in the sandbox when I was, doing this from early COVID days, early in my PhD studies. But those exact words, Bradley, you're right. Discovery. Talk about discovery and curiosity, Susan, your final words on Viktor Frankl and maybe the discovery curiosity process for you as a person with Parkinson's.
I think it'd be easier to discuss the latter.
Go ahead.
Which is to say, you guys, I said to Robert, I don't need improv. I'm not really, I don't understand how it can impact Parkinson's. And 3 years later, I'm on the verge of becoming a teacher. He's on the verge of training me to train other people in this world that helped me find the confidence and a new definition of joy and my best self.
Well, and to Bradley's.
When I go back to Bradley's comment about work might be over, I'm 72 and I have a whole different definition, if you will, of a job.
100%.
That's possible for anybody.
I should have clarified that and said competitive vocation, right?
That's
okay. because you might go on to something else after you're done. My mom volunteers now. That's what she does to keep busy. So
Right. And her whole
That's her
heart's in it.
job. That's her work right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever we can
Thank you,
tap,
Robert.
yeah, we can be more full, we can be our whole selves. And I really love what you all have said about autonomy and individualization, because it's within that space that we find ourselves. And then when we're brave enough to put that out there, we realize we're not alone. Collectively, we become more than.
Yeah.
It starts with the acceptance. I definitely agree with that. Anybody, any final words before we wrap? I thank you so much. You talked about an hour going fast. Indu, that was this. So thank you so much. Anybody else before we go? I want to make sure everybody got to say what they wanted to say.
thank you, Robert. It's been great. We've enjoyed, I know Indu and I both love having these conversations, and it's just fun to be able just to talk about some stuff that's exciting to us. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you both. I hope to see you at perhaps the World Parkinson Congress and maybe other places in the road. We'll be doing our Yes and Festival in Texas this week. So Susan, I'll see you in a couple days. All right. You guys take care.
You guys can all join us.
You can all do it. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.